Hi, I'm Brad Hurlock, your host of the Garage Grit podcast. And today we have our third episode of the Origin and Impact series, where we're going to talk about why we're here today, how we've gotten here. And we're going to talk to another shop owner, Millevoi, Kevin Millevoi. I'm sorry. Am I pronouncing that correct, Kevin?
Millevoi.
Millevoi. Millevoi. So I actually had a little bit of an A in there, I guess, that I needed to weed out. So, all right. So we're here today with Kevin Millevoi of Millevoi's. If I understand it correctly, this is a family business for you, much like many other shops across the country, but you have a slightly different spin on it in that you're not all at the same shop. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about Kevin and his shop. And so, Kevin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Welcome to be here.
All right, great. Thank you. And so, um, let's actually start with the family history of the family name and how, and we'll go there, and then we'll learn a little bit more about you. Let's start with the family history. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm going to go back to 1965 when my father started the business. His name was Kenny Millevoi, so it was called Ken's Exxon. It was a small three-bay gas station located in Northeast Philadelphia in a neighborhood called Parkwood. That Exxon gas station was there for, over 40 years. When he started it, it was just him working every day at this little Exxon gas station. And he got to know the area prior. He was a milkman in the same area. So he was a milkman in that neighborhood, knew all the customers, but was always into cars. Finally got the opportunity to open up a gas station. So his milk customers became his car customers. And to this day, I think I have two left that were his original milk customers that were his car customers that are still now my customers. So it goes back a long ways. When my dad started it, he was there for a few years, and he has two brothers, Jerry and Artie. He brought Jerry into the business. So the two of them ran it. And they were very successful in the area for probably about 5 years when they decided that they should venture out and do something else. I'm sorry, about 15 years. When they opened up a second gas station, which was a Sunoco gas station. Jerry took the first one, the Exxon, over and ran that. And my father, Kenny, took over the Sunoco gas station, which was located in Bensalem, which is minutes away from the first location.
All right. So, and for those that don't know history, you said 15 years, and you said 65. So you're talking about the tail end of the gas crisis in the 70s. In 1980 is when. So, and you were primarily your father and your uncle were primarily not primarily selling gas, but that was obviously a large component of what was going on. They're at the gas stations, and so
That was the
that probably created. Yeah, right. That probably created a little bit of stress on that dynamic because there were lines based on your license plate tag on whether or not you could get gas today, and so that's a very interesting piece of it. Do you recall some of that dynamic?
So at that point, I was born in 1971. So I don't
Okay,
remember.
you were young.
I hear all the stories. Yeah, I was young. I was young. I hear all the stories about it. Yeah, but no. So I don't recall exactly how what that was like. Uh, yeah, I didn't live that myself. But yeah, so it was early 80s, 1982, when they finally opened up that second shop. And that was, like I said, that was the Sunoco gas station. So now Kenny was in one location and Sonny was in the other. I'm using the name Sonny. Sonny and Jerry are the same person. Jerry was his real name. Sonny was his nickname. So to us, he's always Uncle Sonny. I apologize. So, and in the middle of all this, 1976, they opened up a parts store. So they had, which was called Parkwood Auto Parts. So they had an Exxon gas station. 76, then they opened up Parkwood Auto Parts. And that one was run by their other brother, their third brother, which was Artie. People used to refer to him like the Matty Mo and Jack of the Pep Boys back in the days, and it was Kenny, Sonny, and Artie. So Artie's at the parts house working Parkwood Auto Parts, buying from back in the day Motor Masters and Supco and the big manufacturers direct as much as they could, and then selling to themselves and then every other shop in the area. So they had a pretty good business in the parts business, an Exxon gas station, and then after that, then the Sunoco gas station. Back then, after that, they opened up a Goodyear. So that was 1986. They built a Goodyear, which was also in Northeast Philadelphia. And that's a 12 bay shop still running today by another relative. Yeah. Then, so yeah, so
All right. So I want to put a pin in that real quick. I want to go back to 1982. How far away was the Exxon versus the Sunoco?
3 miles.
Okay. And in a population dense area, you still had competition. They were competing against each other in many ways. I mean, there are some people who are religious about which brand of gas that they use, but in many ways, they were competing against each other.
Yes and no. So yeah, we had Exxon customers and you had Sunoco customers. Exxon was probably fading out of that market, and Sunoco was becoming the bigger player.
Mm.
But gas was a small part of the business. The large part of the business was the repair shop, and both of them were
Sure.
three-bay shops. Uh,
Sure.
but
At that point, the gas was kind of like the loss leader as far
right.
as you get them in and then, right. All right. Go ahead.
So
All right. So then 86, you opened up a fourth location,
fourth location.
except, and it was you said it was a Goodyear, so it was a franchise.
So yeah, Goodyear Tire and Service Center. It was. So independent run Goodyear Tire and Service Center. And that's our biggest shop. That's a 12-bay shop. Um, so yeah, that's still running again, of course, today.
Okay. All right. And how far away was that from the Sunoco and the Exxon?
Maybe 3 miles. They're all
In 3 miles.
yeah.
Oh, so they were all like a 3 mile type triangle. So they're all on top of each other.
Yeah.
And who was running the Goodyear?
So in the very beginning, I'm going to give you the history of the Millevoi family first, because then it'll make it easier to understand who's doing what. All right. So three brothers, Kenny, Jerry, and Art. Kenny had four boys, myself, my brother Kenny, and two girls. None of the girls are in the business, just the boys. Artie had six boys. All six boys at one point were in the business. Currently, only five are. And then Sonny had six kids, three boys, three girls. Three of his boys were in the business. Only one of those are in the business today. So now coming up, I'm going to use the word slave labor. So as kids growing up, we were all, I say forced. We wanted to work at the gas stations. We wanted to work at the shops. But it was a great way for my dad and my uncles to know where all the kids were on a Friday night or a Saturday night. They were working safely at a gas station, pumping gas till 11 o'clock at night. So we were all busy weekends, after school, working at the shops. Every single one of us worked there growing up through grade school, high school, and college.
Beautiful work ethic training. That's great.
It was, and still today. So growing up, so my brother and I, we worked at my father's Exxon. We worked at the parts house, delivering parts, looking up parts, selling parts at the counter, and then at the Sunoco gas station, whether it was starting out working as pumping gas. My father he won every year what's called an image award, and it was the Sunoco's award for the cleanest shop in the area. And my father won it every year. So his shop was meticulous, painted, flowers, clean, everything. So you spent a lot of time painting and cleaning, making sure that the shop was immaculate, which it was. So we did that for years. Then my brother, once he got married, wanted to go out on his own. So he opened up his own gas station, Sunoco. And that one was probably about 8 miles away, still in Northeast Philadelphia, but far enough away that it really wasn't competition. Fortunately, the name in the business, our last name Millevoi, was a strong name in the business, and a lot of people knew it. So anybody in the areas that knew that name, it was synonymous with auto repair, hopefully good auto repair and trusted auto repair. So it was definitely a help. And every one of us today fly the name in the front of our building. So people in the area know who we are. So now, that being said, so the Exxon, like I said, the three brothers ran it for years, and then eventually the sons started to take things over. The first one was the Exxon. Exxon was run by two cousins, Tim and John, and they ran that for years until they sold it. It was a third-party lease, so they sold it to Wawa. Of all people came in and bought the property, so it's currently a Wawa now. And then they moved to another location, also in Northeast Philadelphia. They're still there today. John's no longer in the business. John's got health issues, so that one's run by Tim. Another location we opened up in Richboro, Pennsylvania. That one's about 12 miles away from the rest of us. And that's run by another cousin. His name is Greg. Over at the Goodyear, you got it run by Mark and Art, also two cousins. The last one is my brother. My brother eventually moved to Ocean City, New Jersey. He moved there about 25 years ago, and he opened up a Goodyear franchise down there in the center of a resort town, Ocean City, New Jersey, and he's been running that now since, like I said, about 25 years. It was 99 or 2000. He went down there. He has 4 boys. One of his boys is in the business today. And he is about to take over the shop. My brother's 62 years old, so heading towards retirement sooner or later, probably sooner than later. And then Kyle's going to take that one over. Brother-in-law.
And wait, I'm sorry. And Kyle's, is that the one in Jersey, or is that the one that's closest to you?
In New Jersey.
That's the one in New Jersey. Right. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
The last one is my brother-in-law. So I said none of the girls are in the business, but my sister's husband is. So his name was Jim. His name is Jim. He worked for my father as a young kid, growing up in Parkwood. So many kids in the neighborhood worked for my father growing up at the gas station. So Jim was one of the guys that worked at the gas station. Eventually started dating my sister, got married to my sister, and they've been together now for, I don't know, long time. But he ended up, so through my father's help, ended up getting another Sunoco gas station, had that for many years, ran it, and then sold the property and moved to just a repair shop, no gas. So now he's got a location. Just his first name is Jim, just called Jim's Automotive, and that's in Glenside.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about your immediate footprint. All right. So you've got a shop that's 8 miles away. Has your name. You've got your shop. How many other shops with your name are within, say, 10 miles?
1, 2, 3, 4 of us.
4. I think you said one shop was 12 miles. But that's a Goodyear shop.
The 12-mile shop it's in Riceboro, Pennsylvania, about 12 miles away, and that's just a repair shop, no gas. Yeah, that's
okay.
So
is that one of the 4? Or is that the 5th one in that? Because I initially said 10, so I wasn't certain if you were including that.
That's one of the 4.
One of the 4. Okay.
4, yeah.
Very, very interesting. And so now again, popular Northeast Philadelphia, you've got a rather dense population. People aren't necessarily driving 8 miles for the repair, because that takes a while because of the right. So, and so, yeah, I actually I've talked to people who actually have grown up and lived nowhere but an urban environment. And when I tell them that my son's school is about 4 miles away, they're like, oh my goodness, that's like an hour drive. No, you can get there. You could potentially do it in 11 minutes, but you shouldn't. But anyway, mathematically, you should be able to do it in 11 minutes, but not correctly. All right. So, of course, I've never tried that. That would be ridiculous. So, yeah. No, in all seriousness, though, so how many, that's really what I want to go to, is how many are actually in an overlapping footprint of customers that you're pulling from the same or a similar or overlapping customer base. So the 12 miles out, the 8 miles out. So there's only 2 of you that are actually competing with the same customers?
3 of us, technically. 3 of us. So where my location is, if you went a mile, not even a mile south, 3/4 of a mile south, is another Millevoi's Automotive. And that one's run by Tim. So
okay.
I'm in Ben Salem, which is Bucks County. He's in Philadelphia, but we're like I said, 3/4 of a mile apart from one another. His area is densely populated. My area is densely populated. We probably share some customers. We are. Hold
on. I'm sorry. You share some customers unknowingly? Like the customers don't realize that there's a difference between the 2 of you, maybe?
Some don't. Some know that, that there's a difference, and others just think that the Millevoi name is it's a franchise. So they'll come into us and they'll tell us. I was at the other location. They were too busy that day, or couldn't fit them in, or they just came to me for some reason, and vice versa. So when they walk in, they say, yeah, I've been here, but not at this location, at the other location. Well, it's
right
location. So we explain to them all the time that we share the last name, but not by business. So
you can almost re-engineer or reverse engineer a franchise off of this. From a marketing perspective, you could pull things together and actually reverse and engineer a anyway. So that would be an interesting case study in of itself. But okay, all right. So you do end up having to explain it to customers. Some customers know it, some customers don't. I think that's very fascinating. Is Tim as good natured about it as you are?
We are. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I woke up this morning to a text message that a customer's coming in on Monday, and I don't know why. He might be closed that day. He might be too busy that day. I don't know. Might have gone on vacation. But the text message was, I need to get my car worked on, and we normally go to the one down the street from you, which is Tim, and can't accommodate me that day. So he said, go see you. So I got a customer coming in on Monday.
All right, so even more interesting. So the customer acknowledged that Tim's shop told him to come to you because they're not available. So you do send work to each other when you can't squeeze somebody in and there's an emergency. Why not? Yeah. All right. Keep absolutely. Yeah, I get that. That's good. I like that. Now, let me ask you this: if I was using Tim and I came to you and said, and just said, hey, I want to come to you this time, do you alert Tim if the customer doesn't acknowledge that Tim told them to come to you? Like, do you actually raise? Did you actually, hey, Tim, I got this guy coming. He says he used to come to you. Is there any backstory here? Like, do you have that kind of dialogue with each other?
Yes and no. I mean, it's not normal that we would call each other up and say that. If there was an issue, a problem, we've done warranty work for each other. So if there was an issue where he couldn't handle it that day, but it was, we all buy from the same parts houses. So we've done that just to satisfy the customer a lot of times, make sure that they're happy. So we've done it that way, but not always. So this one in particular that's coming in on Monday, I will give him a call and say, hey, something I should know about it. And hopefully he says they're a good customer and I just can't accommodate them, and not the opposite, that I don't want them to
Right.
have.
Right. And so, yeah, and in that situation, you might even encourage them to go back to Tim on the next situation, on the next. Why not keep it in the family, keep everybody happy? It's more important than just retaining that potentially new customer otherwise, because you've got so much more going in the relationship. Now you mentioned about all ordering from the same parts. Is the parts shop still in the same family?
No, that one, we closed that down years ago. Yes. So in our area, there's some really big players. Um, you're not far from me, but Eastern Auto Parts is huge. And they came in years ago, and they just do a fantastic job. So we hung in there for a long time, and one of my relatives ran that for a long time, and then just realized that he just couldn't compete with them. So sold the business, sold the property, and he went and worked for. Now he works for another parts house, an independent parts house.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Eastern's a pretty decent size, but they're still a regional player. They're not a national player; they're a regional player. And how many years ago was that change?
We sold that property. That's probably early 2000s. Yeah,
Okay.
early 2000s that went away. Maybe 05, 07,
Mhm.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, potentially good timing because 2008 was 2009 was an interesting economic year. So, okay. And that's one thing that I like to chat about when it comes to businesses that have been around for as long as you have. You've seen ups and downs in the economics cycles. Sometimes they seem manipulated. I'm probably not alone that the recognizing that the economic turn of 2020 and all that continues to happen as a result was absolutely a result of meddling, right? I mean, like the virus, right? For example, how to roll. And so, I don't know. I just, what have you done in the past do you change with each economic cycle or do you have an economic downturn cycle playbook?
You know what? That's a great question. I don't in this business. I don't think there's a playbook for what's going to happen. Um, I've always said, fortunately, this business is not recession proof, but it's recession resistant. So people need their cars. So in good times and in bad, they need their cars. When the economy took a turn in '08 and people couldn't afford new cars, well, they had to fix the old car and make it keep running. So although it was tough economically out there for a lot of people, we were able to manage through because keeping these people's cars on the road. So that second timing belt or the third set of tires, we got them going. So making sure that those customers' cars were on the road was good for us. Through COVID, nobody was driving through COVID, so miles weren't getting put on cars. So getting creative at that point. Well, how do we get cars in the shop? So we came up with an idea that we're going to go call every single customer of ours, pick
Mm.
up their car. Hey, it's just sitting there. Let us service it. Maybe it needs something that you didn't get done last time. So the playbook.
And people don't realize that if you let your car sit for too long, it actually needs a whole different type of service than if you actually ran it for 5 minutes every day. And so, and yeah, but they weren't. They were just letting it sit for weeks on end, and so that's a whole different thing that needs to be handled. And so, all right, so that's how you were approaching that. Uh, good,
Yeah.
good. And how did that work?
It we were able to sustain what we had to keep going. Obviously, there was a downturn on it, but at least we could keep the doors open and keep moving. Kept everybody employed. We laid nobody off. So it was just a way of getting creative, basically to keep the shop busy. We're as busy as we could be.
Nice, nice. Okay, all right. So, no single playbook. You adjust with what's going on, and sometimes economic downturns when the uh, mean more work. People are crying about the price, but it means more work potentially, if as far as keep, and that also is playing out now because of the inflated car prices and used car prices. People are also trying to retain their current vehicles instead of just going out and replacing them.
Yeah, new cars are expensive. There's still, a bit of a backlog to get cars. And the interest rates are higher, so the people in our area, that the blue collar worker, they can't just go out and buy a brand new car. The average cost of a car, I think, is $54,000 today. So it's easier to maintain that 6, 7, 8 year old car, and keep it on the road. And that's what we've been real busy with lately, fortunately.
Okay, all right. And you just kind of gently described the area a little bit as very blue collar. What else can you say about Northeast Philly? I mean, you're in Bucks County, and Bucks County, as a whole, is a rather white collar area, or at least it's also a high net worth, if I understand it right. They've got pockets, right? They've got really dense pockets of blue collar, but but is also very, very spread out.
It is. So we're Lower Bucks County. So we're a stone's throw from Philadelphia. So half a mile to the city line. So that whole area that we have all around us is, the lower end of Bucks County, Ben Salem, and Northeast Philadelphia.
And actually, for those who are listening in, if you're an hour north of that, you're considering where Kevin is to be part of Philly. Like, you're only considering it not to be part of Philly if you're actually on the north side of the Philadelphia line, barely, right? Like you're talking about. Otherwise, that's Philly, and that's kind of how you think about it.
If you're an Eagles fan, you're in Philly. So
Yeah,
hour north, you're
that
still in
too.
Philly.
That's also true. But I mean, I remember thinking about like Manioc and whatnot, and people would be like, no, it's north of City Line Avenue, so it's not actually in Philly. And for someone who's outside, it's like, it's Philly.
Draw a circle on the map, and Philadelphia, encompasses so many other areas that aren't Philadelphia,
Right.
but we all consider
Right.
it Philly.
Yep. All right. So, tell me a little bit more about the area. Go ahead. Tell
Very
everyone else
blue
about it.
collar. Average median income is like $56,000. So people, like I said, they can't afford to go buy a brand new car when they need it. So maintaining that car that they're driving currently is our specialty. Keeping them going.
Mhm. Okay. Um, I find it interesting that you actually researched and knew the median income. What other things have you researched for your area to help understand your market?
God, probably lots of things. Yeah, I mean, knowing your customer is important. So that's one area that I've always followed. Can people afford? What can they afford? Um, One of our shops, the shop that's in Richboro, you talked about having more white collar. That shop's different. So when I talked to my cousin Greg, who works up at that one, he said they're key droppers. Drop it off, and it's not how much is it going to be. It's when can I get it back. So just a different outlook on their spending. But they'll also buy a new car when they need it. So they'll maintain, but they're smart about it. They don't just go buy a new car because they want to. They'll buy the new car when they absolutely have to, and they'll fix the old one until it's not worth fixing anymore. So it's worth, yeah. So knowing what your customer can afford is very important. And our customers down in the lower end of Bucks County, Northeast Philadelphia, blue collar, and they want to maintain that vehicle that they have. They're not buying new cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what led you to, and so we've talked about the family, we've talked about the history, we got a little bit off topic when we talked about economics, but now I want to dial it back to your story, and I'm going to segue by saying what in your story caused you to realize that you need to have a good understanding of your customer base, because that's what we all are, right? We have these ideas in business. It's because of our experiences that we've had in the past a lot of times, and what we, or lessons learned or lessons taught. So was it by an example from your dad, or was it something else?
Yeah, it was lots of things. An example for my dad was probably the number one. My dad was a great people person. He'd read people, he'd understand people. Very, very helpful in a lot of ways in what he did and how he helped the neighborhood. Like I said, there's two customers left that come in that are old. They don't drive much anymore, but they still call me, little Kevin, not little anymore, but they remember me from when I was a kid. But my father always treated everybody like family. He knew so many people, and then outside of the business, outside of work, whether it was employees, customers, vendors, he just had this huge circle of friends that he took care of. So the people knew him, they liked him, they trusted him, and he would tell you back in the day, right? So automotive is a bitch business. Nobody wants to buy a water pump. Nobody wants to buy new tires, right? They want a new car. They want a new refrigerator. They're nice. They want a new TV. It's beautiful. But nobody wants to go buy auto repair. So when they walk in your store, they're already upset that they have to be there. They're giving up their car. They're spending money they don't want to. They don't know what a timing belt is, but they need one. So when you're talking to them, you have to talk like you're a consumer, which we all are. And I use the example all the time when we go out to dinner and you sit down and that waitress is super nice to you and the food was fantastic. You had a great experience. You paid your $100 and you walked away happy. Well, if you took any one of those away, the food wasn't good, the service wasn't good, something was missing. You spent your $100, but you're not happy, and you're probably not going to go back there again. Well, treat every customer like you're a waitress or you're a waiter or a bartender, and you're going to take care of them as soon as they walk in that door. You're going to remember their name. You're going to know what they drive. You're going to remember what they told you they were doing for vacation, and bring it to a personal level. And when you can talk to people, you're not selling them anything. You're just telling them what their car needs. Customer, today, Brad, your car needs a set of tires. But we're going to put good tires on there. Needs a water pump, and we're going to back it with our 3-year guarantee. So when you just talk to people and treat them like you want to be treated, I think it's a win-win. The customers trust you, they know you, they recommend you, and you've earned their business, their respect, and their trust.
Yeah, and you just kind of touched on something there, because so many shops, especially right now, are talking about trying to grow their ARO. This is not a new topic. This grow their ARO, right? Grow their ARO, and so when you focus on it being a scenario where I got to grow my ARO as opposed to serving the customer, I agree. You need to grow your ARO, right? Not every shop, but a lot of shops. I think there would be benefits into the financial side of things if you were able to do that. But when you make that your primary objective, as opposed to serving the customers or servicing the car, and when you make that the priority over the customer, I if the customer is going to their alarm is going to go off. It's going to say this guy's trying to sell me something, as opposed to trying to help me with something, and I think that's an important thing to kind of keep in check, because otherwise,
If you're
yeah,
just worried about the number, you've disconnected yourself from the person. And it's all about the people in our business. And like I said, the money comes. The price isn't as important, right? When they're thinking about car repair, they want their car fixed right. They want it fixed fast because they need their car. Everybody needs their car. Nobody can be without it, right? Nobody's got spare ones laying around. So they want to be taken care of. If they're going to spend $300 on brakes, they're going to spend it somewhere. Maybe they can get it for 250, maybe they spend 350. But when they know that they get a good job, it's done right, they get their car back fast, the price is just it's lower on the list. That is, if they're just looking for price. So, and you get the people that shop all the time, and we encourage them to come on in. Like, I don't want to give you a price over the phone. Come see us. Come meet us. Let's get a look at your car. We do, I call 15-minute free inspection. Right? Come look and let's see what's going on. Get to know us. I'd rather service the customer and make sure that they're happy, fit their needs. The money comes after. We're gonna, as long as you're watching your metrics, you're gonna make sure that your percentages are the right spot where they should be. But if the customer knows you, likes you, recommends you, you've earned their business. That's where it's at. for me. And that's why like I said, I'm proud to fly my name on our business. I'm not hiding behind, I could call it Ben Salem Auto Repair, and nobody knows who I am. But when people come into our shop, they know who we are. I fly that name very proudly. So, and I stand behind it. I think that's where you earn your business at.
Yeah. Right. That's it. And you're saying that's you were taught by example. You were in the shop, working in the shop. That was kind of your history. How young were you when you first started to have to play janitor to keep the immaculate shop in play?
12 years old. 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to go to work at 12 years old with my dad. So get in the car, drive to work, spend the day there, come home at the end of the day when he did.
So that was your summer. That was your summer vacation, was being able to do that, because that sounds like sixth grade, roughly.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah,
Yeah,
sixth grade.
yeah, that's great.
$2 an hour,
Great.
and he bought you lunch. That was the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to do the math to figure out what that is today, but it's but the last summer, I told my son what I was going to pay him to weed the out front of the house, and he wasn't interested because there wasn't enough money. And I'm like, if I go any higher than this, I'm just going to hire a landscaper. Like, but so no, like, yeah, that's great. That's great. And so what did you do with the money? Did you race to save it, or race to spend it, or a little both?
I was a saver. In fact, I would, so my brother and I shared a room together growing up. My brother's 7 years older than I am. And I still remember this. He had a big, stereo system with the big tall speakers that he had bought with his money.
Right. Right. The boombox, the 80s boombox.
With the turntable and the
okay. Oh,
it was
all right.
It was a hi-fi, set.
Right. So it wasn't a portable boombox. That wasn't really portable because it sat on your shoulder like a suitcase. No, this is a stereo system.
Stereo with dual cassette player. I don't even remember what brand it was, but it was beautiful.
Oh, replace the 8-track.
My dad said it was too loud. Had the turntable up top, but the two speakers had screens on the front of them. If you remember, you could pop the screens off. And they would you could see the actual speaker, put the screen back on. Well, back in the day, I didn't have, a safe or a lockbox or anything. So sharing a room with my brother, I had to make sure that my money was my money. So I would take the front of that screen off and I would put the money behind it and put the screen back on so nobody could find it. that was my money. That was where my little safe was. Yeah, my $40 probably back then.
And you made sure to extract it before that was sold at a yard sale.
Oh, absolutely,
because otherwise, someone actually got that for $2, and then they pull it back the screen, and they're like, "Hooray! I just got $4."
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was something that we, and it was funny. I didn't know that my brother, whether he knew it or not, but he probably did. Yeah, that's where I used to store my money. So no, I was a saver back then. Still am.
Nice, good. I like it. All right. So did I hit the nose on the head? The janitorial jobs were like the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't wait to pump gas, because that was like a step up. But cleaning the bathrooms, painting the curbs, weeding the flower gardens, washing windows. I'm an expert at washing windows, because if you know what a 3-bay gas station looks like, glass doors, top to bottom. I think there was 12, glass panels in those things, inside and out. And every week they were washed. I'm telling you, the place was immaculate. It looked like it was a show.
Wow. Okay. All right. Nice. All right. So how old were you when you were able to start pumping gas?
I was probably 13. It wasn't much longer after that.
A year later. Okay. So you're in middle school and you're working at the shop. What other activities were you able to do?
So the mechanics there were great. They would use you to do other jobs. So taking tires off, fetching tools, cleaning and packing wheel bearings, repairing tires, taking tires on and off, using the old Coates 40/40 machines. So back in the day, it was, you were just now a mechanic's helper. And I was interested. I wanted to learn about it. Wanted to, get your hands dirty and see what it was all about. So my dad the shop was open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. He ran 2 shifts. 8 to 5 was the one mechanic shifts. So 3 mechanics in a bay, and one guy would rotate in and out of a bay, or he would work behind a bay. And then myself and other helpers. And then he had a guy that would come in at 3, and we would work till 11. And he would fix cars throughout the night. So anytime I worked, so now I'm in high school, fast forward to high school. So I'm driving, working at nights 3 to 11, and I wouldn't get home before midnight because you'd be helping one of the mechanics put a car back together, finish something up, leading brakes, whatever it might be. So he ran those 2 shifts, and then Saturdays and Sundays he also ran shifts. So Saturday was a full day, and then Sunday he had a part-time mechanic, and that guy was 8 to 3. That was his part-time day. So yeah, so you were working any one of those 7 days, or multiple of those 7 days, and you could be opening, you could be closing, you could be working the shop that day, you could be working the pumps another day. Sundays was the big clean day, so if you were working there pumping gas on Sundays, you were sure to be washing windows or cleaning bathrooms or keeping the image up of the shop.
That's interesting, and it's a model. What you just said there, what your father did was a model for any small shop constrained by their location. On, like, I imagine the go-to model is offer overtime, but go the other direction potentially and treat it like you've got to hire more employees for a second shift and shift the hours a little earlier and later, and you'll be able to turn out more cars. Now, you're not going to have the service advisor potentially at, or maybe you do at 9 o'clock at night. But I know that I don't want to fetch my car at 9 o'clock at night. But I imagine there are some people that would be, fine with doing something like that.
Plenty of customers, yeah, that did it. And back then there was no service advisor. The mechanic was his own. So they would write the cars up in the morning. We would, or whoever was pumping gas essentially, were your pseudo service advisor. So they would just write down the information, collect the keys and the paperwork, and they'd put it in an envelope. Technician would get it, and they would come in and grab. Some technicians had certain customers that were theirs that they wanted to come and see, and others anybody could grab. And then that was his job. So his job then was to diagnose the car, maybe an inspection, whatever it was, find out what it needed, call the parts house, get the parts, get the prices, call the customer. They did it all back then. So, and I would laugh at, when I got my own shop, and I said, Dad, I think doing it this way would be better, because let the technician be a technician. Let him go fix cars. Just keep feeding him cars and let somebody else do everything else, all the paperwork. But old school, new school. And, at some point he said to me, I think you're doing it the right way. Just a different way. I don't know if it was the right way, but his way worked for many years.
Yes. I'm sorry, you reminded me of an episode that we had back in July of 2024 where we had a panel of shop owners who had taken the shop over from their prior generation, from their parents, and hearing some of the stories of why do it this way, when the way we've been doing it is just fine, right? And so that's very interesting. Where did you get the idea to segment the work?
When you start tracking hours, technicians' hours, and tracking productivity and see what they can do, well, a lot of that time was downtime. They weren't producing any hours because they were calling for parts, they were calling for approvals, following up on parts. So 3 or 4 hours out of their day, they were doing all these other tasks when they could be turning wrenches. And that's how I did it. To go back to that, though, this is funny. So everything was handwritten, everything. Calculator, handwritten invoices, handwritten everything, pick up the phone, make phone calls. When I said to my dad we should go to computers, it was like, what? What's a computer? Why do we do computers? Exactly what you said. It works fine my way. Why would we go the other way? That was a battle, but and he didn't necessarily accept the computer. It was everybody else at that point. He was fine doing it his way. But learning the whole computer system was a challenge because you're teaching old guys new tricks. But it was much easier, that way.
And it's sometimes difficult to teach old guys tricks. Now, my confession is this: when my parents asked me what type of smartphone to get, I told them to get an iPhone because I don't know anything about iPhones. I'm an Android user, and I knew that I didn't want to have to take the phone call on how to, because I find that to be particularly difficult. Like, even if I know the platform inside and out, to try to explain it over the phone to somebody who has a natural block. And I'm watching myself develop these blocks with certain pieces of technology, and I'm in a tech related space, right? And so I often joked about, like, I wonder what the technology is going to be that I'm going to struggle with in my 70s. Because it's going to happen, and I don't know what it's going to be. And my grandson or or a nephew is going to be ridiculously frustrated. And I pray that they have more patience than I, I'm undeserving of that patience. Though full disclosure, I have, of course, helped my parents at times, because, they saw right through me and they both got Androids. But anyway, so nothing like knowing your children, right? So, yeah, over time though, my mom did switch to an iPhone. So now my dad's an Android and my mom's an iPhone user. And so now my mom goes to my one nephew for help, and my dad comes to me. So I don't know that I won in this situation, but but anyway, yeah, no, it's true. It's something to joke about and kind of be lighthearted about it. But that technology block, or that whatever that thing is, man, we are often too willing to set in our ways and not explore something new.
I think it's the fear of the unknown. How's it going to work? Is it going to work? Why change if it's
Mm-hmm.
not needed? I'm a tech guy. I like the techie kind of stuff, so
Good.
I embrace it. But I thought the same thing in 20 years. Where's it going to be that I'm not going to understand it? And I think I have a good understanding of it. Um, I was just the opposite. Mom, Dad, go get Apple phones. I know those inside and out. I can tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. Um, and at least I thought, until they get the phone call, and I'm like, I need it in front of me. I can't.
See, I guess I had taken enough support phone calls, because of the space that I'm in prior to that. I kind of saw the handwriting for that on the wall, right? It's like, it is so much easier when it's when it's in front of you instead of phone support. And so, God bless the phone support people who actually are taking those calls, because they don't have an easy job, right? Now, one of the things that's helped them is emulators, but anyway, I digress. Let me get back to, your story. So you're working at the shop, in high school. Keep telling me more about your story.
Yes. In
Next.
high school, finished high school, and I didn't. I liked working at the business. The money was great. The knowledge was wonderful. The responsibility when Dad would go on vacation. At this point, brother had his shop, and I'm kind of running things at my dad's shop. It was great, but I thought, this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. My dream was to go into advertising. I don't know why advertising, but that's what I wanted to go into. So I went to a community college for a couple of years, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Finished up there, and then went to finish up at a 4-year university at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. Um, Finished up there, just about I'm still working now at the shop. So going to school full time, working part time, and trying to remember exactly how it happened. So at some point, there's a young guy working at the shop, friend of the family, and he is young kid, get in trouble, high school drinking. So mom says, go get a job, go see Kenny Millevoi, and he'll get you working. So now I'm working full time. I'm working part time, going to school full time, and this young guy's working at the shop. Well, his sister is dropping him off and picking him up. Um, I got lucky, and she's talking to me now, and I'm talking to her, and so now I start to date his sister. You know where this is going. So now I got 3 things going on: school, work, and this new girlfriend. I'm a young kid at the time. I'm 20. I don't even know, mid 20s or early 20s. Um,
Early 20s, right? Because you're still in college, so you're 20, 21 maybe,
yeah,
right?
still in
Yep.
college. So trying to navigate through all this, and I thought, you know what? I don't know if I want to finish up with school now, because I got this whole business thing ahead of me. Maybe I'll go back into the business. So I'm touring back and forth, back and forth. Well, I don't. I finish up school, and now so I'm now back at the shop working full time, trying to figure out and get a full time job. And we get a phone call. I get a phone call from a company that we do work with, and this guy sold all the branded products for Texaco, Sunoco, Mobil, Exxon, Goodyear. He was a distributor. Calls me up one day, and he was a friend of the family. My father had bought from for years and years. All their air filters and oil filters, all Sunoco branded products. So this guy, Bill, calls me up and says, how would you like to be my sales rep? Okay, that sounds like it'd be a cool job. Decent money, company car, vacation, everything that sounded like it would be a neat thing to do. So I did it. I did that for about 4 years. In the process of that, I get engaged, I get married, we buy a house, and I realize I can only go so far with this company, so maybe I should go back into the family business. So the property that I'm in currently, the one in Ben Salem, my father, my brother, and I had bought, and we bought it just as more of an investment. Um, at least that's what I thought. I think Dad had a plan here, so we bought it as an investment. This is about the time that my brother now is going to moved to Ocean City, New Jersey, and opened his shop, his second shop. We're late 90s. We're late 90s. Yep. Yeah. So I got married in 98. I opened my business in 99. So about 80% of the shop is done. We revamped the entire place and equipped it with everything that we needed to do. And I came to my dad one day and I said, Dad, I think I want to come back into the business full time and run that shop. And he smiled and he said, I kind of figured you would. So I think he kind of had an idea that this was a good plan. So he said, hop in the car, we're going to go for a ride. No idea where we were going. So we went over to, back in the day, it was Continental Bank, and sat down and we signed a bunch of papers. And I said, okay, what's going on? And he said, you're buying your brother and me out and you're going to run the shop. And I went, okay, all right, this is real. So I left my job, my good paying job with a company car, and I jumped
Yep.
back into the business. And the last probably, we opened May 17th, 1999. So probably the last 2 months I spent at the shop just getting it ready. Late nights, early mornings, painting. And
Of course, making it computerized for Y2K.
yeah, right, because the world was going to shut down. Exactly right. So that's what we did. So I spent the last couple of months getting it ready, and opened it up May 17th, 1999.
Nice.
Here I am, 26 years later.
Okay. One of the better decisions you've made in your life.
One of two.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl worked out.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's great. So, all right. So, that's really interesting. When you were talking about the decision to go to college, so I also lived through this time period, right? I'm a little bit younger than you, but not much, and it wasn't until a decade or so after the fact that I realized how much we were hit with propaganda of turn a wrench, don't work blue collar, go to college, go to college, go to college. That's what you're supposed to do. Go to and so, we were really hit with a lot of advertisements and at school, everywhere. Do this. Do this. This is what you need to do. Wow. Now I understand. Now that I understand what I understand as far as how those advertisements were paid for and by whom they were paid for, like what a crock. I mean, so I come from a very blue collar family, and so yeah, my generation was the first to go to college, right, in our family, and so I guess that's a hooray. Except it's a great thing if you actually have the path. It's good. More education is a good thing, and it's good to just be knowledgeable, but you've got to look at a return of all of these things, right? So there's plenty of times where it makes sense just to stay there's a lot of college students, graduates who are not making what mechanics are making.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I know a lot
Not
of
even half.
very educated, successful college graduates. And I think I know more uneducated, educated in their own way, but not through college.
Yeah.
Blue collar workers, business owners that are even more successful.
Right. Exactly. And so that's really interesting to kind of think about. But I mean, I too ended up going to college instead of going to work for my dad. And so that's very interesting. My dad, by the way, was in the electrical contracting business, and so you were talking about the role that a pre-teenager has, and I don't know, I remember my dad telling me that when you start out in a particular field, you're the gopher. And that's what they call you, the gopher. Go for this, go for that, gopher. And so, do they also call it that in the auto repair space? Were you a gopher?
Oh,
Were you referred to as such?
Okay. Did all the jobs that nobody else wanted to do, right?
Right.
So it was,
Right.
yeah, and then grabbing coffee in the meantime, and
Right. Your hands are small. Get in here.
yeah, you did all the things. Like I said, I packed more wheel pairings in my life than I think I can imagine. Because nobody it was a dirty job, nobody wanted to do it, so give it to the kid. Back in those days, you didn't wear rubber gloves. I don't even know if rubber gloves, they were for doctors. They surely weren't for mechanics. So you got your hands dirty and you greased them up. I, writing inspection stickers, all the things, balancing tires, the things that the guys didn't.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, all right. All right. So it's been 26 and a half years, right? Or 26 years. Wait, you said May 19th?
May 17th.
All right.
May 7th.
May 17th. So
Saturday.
3 days.
Saturday's the anniversary.
All right. All right. By the way, this is not going to be this is being recorded on May 14th, by the way. And so it'll probably post to our podcast next Tuesday. But so that'll be the play. But congratulations, 26 years is great. Give me the short version of the history of an evolution of the shop.
Well, so yeah, back in the beginning, it was me and one mechanic.
Okay.
And that we ran that for probably close to a year until we got our second mechanic. And it was do it all. I can remember my accountant asking me, "What role are you going to play in the business?" And I said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Everything. Whatever needs to be done." And I'll never forget it. And he said, "That's the attitude of a winner. Whether it's fixing a car, calling a customer, emptying the trash,
right,
whatever it takes."
What is your title? Hold on. I've got a 32-sided dice. Let me see what it's going to be today.
Exactly. Yeah. Take the
right.
Off and put that hat on. And it was just it was a constant. Right. So yeah, what I've learned over the years is, hire good people. I've hired a lot of really good mechanics that weren't good people. I say not bad people. They just weren't good employees or couldn't show up and work on time, certain things, but they could fix a car. And then you hire some really good people that weren't good mechanics. But it was easier to teach them how to be a good mechanic, send them for training, stand beside them and let them know what they're doing. So hire good people is what I found, and rely on them. People want to do a good job. They really do. So if you give them a duty, a task, a responsibility, they want to come through for you. So just finding that right person, but hiring good people is my key.
Yeah. That makes good sense. Hiring good people, but also and part of that, what makes them good is their willingness to advance themselves, right? That work. Are they coachable? So I often will mention to my son, and it came up again last night with the news about Pete Rose being allowed back into baseball posthumous, right? So there's a guy now. Let's not talk about his character. Let's not debate his character outside of the game of baseball for a moment. Let's just talk about his approach to the game on the field. He was Charlie Hustle. Nobody worked harder, and I wondered whether or not there were how many ball players there were with more natural talent who were outperformed by Charlie Hustle.
Yeah.
It still maintains the greatest hit record, I believe, right? So, I mean, most hits out there. Right. And every single time. So, and I think it's appropriate to, it's good for children to kind of have people that they look up to, but I think it's also good for them to understand that they're also just people. They're not idols, right? That let's learn why we like them and then apply those lessons to our lives. Be coachable, work hard, and, and try to stay focused. So anyway, all right. So I'll get off my little soapbox. So what else, is there anything else? Is that shop history that kind of like a particular milestone? Year 10, how many people did you have?
Good question. Year 10. I was always the service advisor at my counter, and then doing other things as well.
Right.
So it was a challenge because trying to manage now with two mechanics. I think at one point we were probably at 3 mechanics at year 10. So trying to make all that work becomes more and more of a challenge because you're the first one in, you're the last one to leave, follow up on everything. So it was probably, I think it was Joe was my very first, a guy by the name of Joe Kulik was my very first service advisor, recommended through a mutual friend to come over and work for us. And he did a great job, was with us for almost 8 years. But that was my first understanding of let somebody else do some work for you, and then you can still do work and manage more. So I was able to take time away from the front counter, and one was be more in the shop more and follow up what was going on back there. And second was take a little bit of time now, I'm having a family and young kids. So and spending a little bit of time, I'm a worker, so I like to be at the shop. So spending some time away from the shop and with the family. And then as time progressed and I realized that leaning on people and asking them to do what you want them to do, makes your business grow that much stronger, that much bigger. So that's when the kind of light bulb went off in my head is, I can only do so much, but four of me can do, well, four times of what I can do. So hiring other mechanics and lead mechanics, to now we have two service advisors and a service manager, and kind of let them do their thing. Still here day to day. One, because I enjoy it, and I like to get in the mix of things. And they call them Kevin says. So I always have a customer that walks in and said, Kevin said to come over and they'll look at this, and Kevin said buy the shop and I'll do that. Uh, so I always got to look in after my Kevin says.
Okay.
But yeah, the light bulb went off years ago, and I realized that I can get more done with hiring the right people, hiring good people, that want to do the right job, do a good job.
Okay. All right. You said more time home at family because you're not working till 11 o'clock at night now. So what is it? Do you mind sharing a little bit about your family?
Sure. Yeah, two boys, 20, oh my God, almost 23, and going to be 20 this year. Kevin Jr.
Okay.
and Connor, my two boys.
And when they were preteens, were they in the shop cleaning?
So my oldest one would be, both great kids. Stacy's my service manager, and when the kids would come down, the first question she would ask them is, "What did you do wrong? Why are you here emptying the trash and sweeping the floors?" And they would laugh and they would tell you what they didn't, do or what they were supposed to do at home, and they didn't. It was more like a punishment. Come on down to the shop today. You're going to help me clean up. But yeah, good workers, but this is not what they wanted to do. But that's, yeah, so they would come around and hang out. They would ask me questions when they were real young. You work on Ferraris and Bugattis and Lamborghinis, and I would say, we work on Fords and Toyotas and Chevys, but nothing exciting.
Right. Well, there are specialty shops that they wanted to venture into that. So,
Yeah.
and there is enough of them in Upper Bucks County potentially that they could potentially not too far away. All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to share the story and share where you're at. I don't want to cut this short if there's more to tell, but I feel like it's more likely to have you back on in a year and say, how did your 25 and 26th year go, right? Because so the story is still being written. That's nice. But I think it's time for us to kind of bring it to a close a little bit, and so thank you so much for joining us on this this episode of the Origin and Impact series from the Garage Grit podcast, and thank you, Kevin, for sharing all that you've shared. I really appreciate it. So, and as always, like and subscribe to the channel because now we're going to be posting these in between the panel episodes, and you don't want to miss one. So make sure that that's happening and pay attention to it. And of course, if you wanted to join the panel conversations after the panel, that can happen inside the Facebook group of the Garage Grit Podcast Facebook group. If you're a shop owner, go find us, and we'll make sure that you're a shop owner, and then let you into the group. And we continue those conversations there. The panel discussion is going to be happening on recorded live, and you're going to be able to watch it live inside that Facebook group on May 21st. And I believe that's next Wednesday. So thanks again, Kevin, and I will talk to everybody soon.
Thank you very much, Brad.